In this video, I am going to tell you everything about SpaceX, and I will provide captions in Hindi and English in both the languages. So let's start with the basic information about SpaceX. Founder. It was founded by Elon Musk on 6 May 2002 and he is the CEO as well as founder of this company. Number of employees 8,000. Its headquarters are located in Hawthorne in California. Now we will talk about its aim. Its aim was and is to revolutionize the airspace industry and making affordable space flight a reality. Again, its goal is to eventually build affordable spacecraft that would make it possible to one day reach and colonize Mars.
Human spaceflight is the reason that SpaceX was created.
Now we will discuss that how it was formed and what it has done till now and what it will be doing in future. In full, Space Exploration Technologies Corporation, an American aerospace company founded in 2002 that helped usher in the era of commercial spaceflight. It was the first private company to successfully launch and return spacecraft for Earth orbit and the first to launch a crewed spacecraft and dock it with the International Space Station (ISS). The company entered the arena with the Falcon 1 rocket, a two-stage liquid-fueled craft designed to send small satellites into orbit. The Falcon 1 was vastly cheaper to build and operate than its competitors, a field largely populated by spacecraft built by publicly owned and government-funded companies such as Lockheed Martin and Boeing. Part of the rocket's cost effectiveness was made possible by the SpaceX developed Merlin engine, a cheaper alternative to those used by other companies. SpaceX also focused on making reusable rockets. Other launch vehicles are generally made for one-time use. In March 2006, SpaceX made its first Falcon 1 launch, which began successfully but ended prematurely because of a fuel leak and fire. By this time, however, the company had already earned millions of dollars in launching orders, many of them from US government. In August of that year, SpaceX was a winner of NASA competition for funds to build and demonstrate spacecraft that could potentially service the ISS after the decommissioning of the space shuttle. Falcon 1 launches that failed to attain Earth orbit followed in March 2007 and August 2008, but in September 2008, SpaceX became the first privately owned company to send a liquid-fueled rocket into orbit. 3 months later, it won a NASA contract for servicing the ISS that was worth more than $1 billion. In 2010, SpaceX first launched its Falcon 9, a bigger craft so named for its use of 9 engines, and the following year it broke ground on a launch site for the Falcon Heavy, a craft the company hoped would the first to break the $1,000 per pound to orbit cost barrier and that might one day be used to transport astronauts into deep space. In December 2010, the company reached another milestone, becoming the first commercial company to release a spacecraft, the Dragon capsule, into orbit and successfully return it to Earth. Dragon again made history on 25 May 2012 when it became the first commercial spacecraft to dock with the ISS, to which it successfully delivered cargo. In August that year, SpaceX announced that it had won a contract from NASA to develop a successor to the space shuttle that would transport astronauts into space. The Falcon 9 was designed so that its first stage could be reused. In 2015, a Falcon 9 first stage successfully returned to Earth near its launch site. Beginning in 2016, SpaceX also began using drone ships for rocket stage landing. A rocket stage that had returned to Earth was successfully reused in 2017 launch. The same year, a Dragon capsule was reused on the flight to the ISS. The Falcon Heavy rocket had its first test flight in 2018. 2 of 3 first stages landed successfully. The third hit the water near the drone ship. The Falcon Heavy did not carry a satellite but instead placed into orbit around the Sun a Tesla Roadster with a mannequin in a space still buckled into the driver's seat. The first crewed flight of a Dragon capsule to the ISS launched on May 30, 2020 with astronauts Doug Hurley and Robert Behnken. SpaceX also announced the successor to the Falcon 9 and the Falcon Heavy, the Super Heavy Starship system, originally called the BRF, Big Falcon rocket. The Super Heavy first stage would be capable of lifting 1 lakh kg to the Earth orbit. The payload would be the Starship, a spacecraft designed for several purposes, including providing fast transportation between cities on Earth and building bases on the Moon and Mars. SpaceX planned to use the Starship for a flight around the Moon carrying Japanese businessman Maizawa Yusaku and several artists in 2023 and to launch settlers to Mars in the mid 2020s.
2000 years later.
After that, Dragon privately developed spacecraft built by American corporation SpaceX and first private spacecraft to carry astronauts to orbit. The first of two test flights was launched on December 8, 2010, and the second test flight, which carried cargo to the International Space Station ISS, was launched on May 20, 2012. The first crewed flight launched on May 30, 2020 and carried astronauts Doug Hurley and Robert Behnken to the ISS. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, so I think people are a bit confused about this. Unfortunately, this is not up to us. So the U.S. government regulations, they make getting a job in the U.S. hard as it is, just getting a job visa hard as it is. But if you're working on rocket technology, that's considered an advanced weapons technology. So even a normal work visa isn't sufficient unless you get a special permission from the Secretary of Defense or the Secretary of State. I want to be clear, this is not out of some desire of SpaceX to just hire people with green cards. It's because we're not allowed to do anything else.